Welcome. My name is Mark Schut. I'm from the Netherlands, as you may hear or may see. I'm a bit taller than non-Dutch guys. Today I'm going to talk about the connection between Tosca and DATPROF. And DATPROF is a test data management tool. And basically DATPROF enables you to create subsets from production, anonymize it or mask it, because anonymize is a difficult word. So you can mask your data so you can use it for your tests. I'm not going to do it alone, this presentation. I'm going to do it together with Maarten Uurbach. He's from DATPROF, sales manager. Bert Nienhuis, he's not going to present, but he helped with us developing the connection. And my name is Mark Schut. Well, maybe as you can see from the size of the pictures, Maarten is sales manager. Bert is he's the brains of DATPROF. May I say that? Yes? Yeah. Thank you. And I work for Valori. Valori is a test company from the Netherlands. And basically, I'm a chapter lead Tosca, and I have a team of Tosca test specialists. And I'm really focusing on the test automation, the test automation engineer part of Tosca. So I really try to have people in my team who not only know how to use Tosca, but also know how to really use it in a good way. Here are our contacts. So if you want to reach us, you can always send us an email, of course. Yesterday morning I received a nice plaquette, is the word, I think. So last year we became a TCIP partner with Tricentis, so we're very proud of that. So I just wanted to show you that. But we also have a lot of, and that you can see that on the bottom of this slide, a lot of partnership with other tool vendors. Like a Parasoft, maybe you have heard of that. AppDynamics, basically a tool that enables you to monitor your production environment, and especially looking at load tests and stress tests. So if you have an application that needs to be have a big high availability, you can use AppDynamics to see when the system crashes or something. And we also have partnerships with DATPROF and Tricentis. And back in 2005, I started working as a test engineer, and I think after 1 year, I started working with test automation tools, so all kind of different tools. And what I always try to do is to find the best things out of different tools and combine them. And basically, in the end, I have chosen for myself Tricentis as a test tool I want to focus with. But I'm still looking for some customers. Also, Tosca cannot provide everything. So then I look in the market and see what other kind of tools we can use to integrate with Tosca. And basically, I think there are a lot of testers in this room. Can you raise your hand if you're a test engineer? Yeah. And I think almost everybody also participated this morning in the keynote from Wolfgang. So I think test data was one of the 3 nightmares, he called it. And I see a lot of customers having problems with test data. When I with clients and I ask them what kind of problems do you have, and most of the time test data is the biggest issue. Of course, Tosca provides a really good solution for test data management, the TDM, as you may know it, which is a really great solution. So I always try to tell customers to use TDM, to use synthetic test data for the test. But in reality, it's just a big problem sometimes. Therefore, we came up with the integration with DATPROF, because this integration allows you to use not only synthetic test data, but it allows you to use production data, but you can anonymize it or mask it and use it in your test scripts. And that connection we built together with Marta and Bert with DATPROF. And well, when we looked at the problem, we also joined with Tricentis, with the three of us, and we came to this solution. And basically what we do is that we don't replace the current TDM solution from Tricentis, but we see it as an added value, the integration, because now not only you can use your synthetic test data, which you create with Tosca scripts, but you can also make a connection with DATPROF, which allows you to use real production data. But as you may have heard of the GDPR, you cannot use real production data, so DATPROF also allows you to easily mask that data. So therefore we came to the cooperation between Tosca and DATPROF and came up with this solution. At the end of the presentation, I will show you shortly the connection. So how does it look like in Tosca and DATPROF? But now I want to give a few words to Marta, where he's going to talk a bit more about test data management, as is their specialty.
I may use the microphone. Thank you very much, Mark Schut, for your introduction. Hello, my name is Maat Urbach, as Mark Schut already introduced me, and I'm working for DATPROF. And DATPROF is a software vendor, and we are specializing in simplifying the test data management challenges we face today. And today I want to discuss with all of you guys some of the challenges we face nowadays when we talk about test data management. And what we see at our clients, that in some cases 50 or until 75% of our time is consumed on preparing and finding the right test data. And especially when we talk about manual test, this is happening when we are manual testing, but it's getting even more critical when we today start automating our tests, because everybody in this room automates their test. I think, right? You're at Tosca Tricentis. Well, maybe you don't, but it's getting even more critical that you have the best test case coverage when you talk about test data management, especially when you automate your own tests. So this is one challenge. Another reason is today we all want to go to market faster. You know, everybody wants to go, our customers demands it from the market demands it. So we want to go to market faster. And because of that reason, we all talk about the buzzword DevOps, continuous integration, continuous development. You name it, everybody does it. And that's very nice because we want to have daily builds. We want to, at the end of a 2-week sprint, we want to have a minimal viable product. But if we spend 50 to 75% of our time in preparing and finding the right test data, I think it's very difficult to have a minimal viable product at the end of a 2-week sprint or a daily build. So we need to have full control over our test data, and our test coverage. And last, but unfortunately not least, I think there are many other test data management challenges. We have the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. And this is introduced at the 28th of May 2018. And how I would love to discuss with all of you guys the first two, because I found them very interesting. I think due to the fact that the 28th of May we have the GDPR and you need to be compliant, I want to tell you a little bit more about the GDPR and how it's impacting the software quality as we do it today. So, you know, in the end, I'm telling you many information and I know a lot more about the GDPR, but if you are leaving this room today, I want you to remember one thing, and that's if you can't use copies of production in a test environment. You just can't. The GDPR just says it, you can't use copies of production in a test environment, in a non-production environment. So we need to change. And we need to cope with this fact. So how can we cope? You know, and we discussed it at DATPROF several times, and there are 2 ways to go. And probably Tricentis tells you need to generate synthetic test data, and that's very nice, and maybe you can. That's probably in many cases known as a top-down approach. But there's always another approach, and that's the bottom-up approach. It's masking or anonymizing, I practiced, your production database. And I want to discuss with you guys the difficulties we face when we help our clients with test data management, and also the difficulties we see when we start, for example, generating synthetic test data. Because when I discuss the issues with our clients, in many cases we talk about the top of the iceberg. You know, everybody says, you know, we generate test data and we put it inside of our application at the front end, and then it goes a little bit down and it's very nice. And probably it works. But the trouble starts when we take a look at the bottom part of the iceberg. Because in fact, in many of your systems, you have also migrated data, historical data, you have data quality issues. How about that? And I think in the end, nobody in this room has the ability to find the best way to have the best test data generation for all of these cases. And you already have those cases inside of your production database. So it's always a discussion with our customers. It's clean versus the representative fact of the test case coverage you have. So in many cases, we find that the generating test data is way too clean. That's very nice. Another thing is, it's time consuming. When we think about that 50 or 70% of our time, we are busy with preparing and finding the right test data. And if you are generating test data, it's very nice. It's very nice if you have like a system, for example, of 100 tables. But you know, we encounter our clients with more than 1,000 tables, 5,000 tables, sometimes even 100,000 tables. So how will you generate that kind of test data for all of your test cases and your coverage? So it's a challenge. So, and it's time consuming in the end. And the last thing, I think it works generating test data if you have like a world that looks a little bit like this. You have one database, it's very nice. You know, you have a simple system, but the fact is, this is the real fact, you know, and this is even a simplified form of the reality, because we have cloud, we have multiple systems, we want to have data consistency, we want to have data consistency within our test case coverage. And so these issues, you need to find a way when you generate synthetic test data to fill out all of your system with a test data generation form. And I don't think this is going to help you when you're going to want to be GDPR compliant and you want the best test case coverage so you can go to market with a great software quality. So, in the end, these are a little bit, it's time consuming in the end, generating synthetic test data. It's, in many cases, way too clean. I think you're missing elements. And it's difficult to have the right data consistency over multiple systems. So, is there another way? Well, sure, because I'm talking from DATPROF, but there's another way. You know, what we do is we mask and anonymize our production database. And to start off with the good news is all the challenges I just mentioned are gone. When you mask or anonymize your production database, you have the right data consistency, you have these difficult cases because you have historically data or migrated data or anything else. So all the test cases there you want are there already in your production. But there's also a catch, and this is this one. Because we all in this room are working on the future. You know, when we take a copy of production, it's the past. But everybody knows in this room we're working on the future. We have new features, we have new data objects. So this is the terrible side of masking or anonymizing a production database. So, then is the question, what do we want? Well, in fact, I think what we want is the best test data generator in the world. But I don't think this is going to happen in the near future, because we tried and it's pretty difficult. The other way is, we probably wanted the GDPR wasn't coming. So we didn't have the discussion. We could use production data and we have the best test case coverage in the world. But the fact is that GDPR is coming, and the 28th of May you need to be GDPR compliant. And so I think it's not really the fact what do you want, it's the fact what do you need. What do you need? And what do you need? I think in the end you need the best of both worlds. You need to have a way to mask and anonymize a production database, and you need to have generate some synthetic data to go to the future, to generate some new features, some new data objects, so you can have the best software quality in the world and the best test case coverage. That's it. And to top it all off, and this is what we discussed also with Mark Schut and with Valori, you all wanted to be shown inside of Tosca. And this is what we made during a hackathon together with Mark Schut and Valori, and we made a way how it's possible to connect the DATPROF technology to generate a subset and mask it out of production and use it inside of Tosca. And now Mark Schut is going to show you how we did it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, oh, nice. Yeah, so basically I'm going to demonstrate it, and it will not be a typical, thank you. Well, that was not, oh, thank you. It will not be a typical test tool demonstration with flashing screens and that things are moving automatically, because I think we all know that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show how we build the connection, how the connection is working. So basically, I put a very simple picture. This is Tosca as we know it. We have our test cases, the blue section, and we use TDM, test data management, to store our test data. And TDM allows you to also give statuses with data, so you know when you can use a record and when you cannot use a record for your test cases. And normally, we create the test data will be created by other Tosca scripts. There's always what I tell clients, just make, I have several clients who constantly running the test scripts to create that test data. So there's always enough test data. That's one way to do it. And yeah, I have a lot of discussions also with Marta, because I still think this is the best way to do it, but that's another discussion. What we did is we made a connection with DATPROF. And as Marta explained, is with DATPROF, you can just take a subset from production and mask it. And what we did, we made sure that what the output of DATPROF will be the input for Tosca. So that's the only difference. So your test cases will just still work the same. You can still use TDM as you used to do it, like like the standard modules. I don't know, are a lot of people here using TDM within Tosca? Can you raise your hand? Well, it's yeah, you. It's a colleague of mine, sorry. So this is the simple concept we created, and now I'm going to show you how it works in Tosca and DATPROF. So first we're going to, this is DATPROF, it's just a web interface.
This is a demo application to show what
sorry.
can do. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's your role. Thank you. This is the Guardsware application. This is the application we use for the demonstration. And basically, what we have here is customers. This is a database with customers. And as you can see here, this is the production data. And we can also go to the test environment. And currently, we see that the test environment is empty. If you go back to production, we have customers, products, all kind of different databases. Now I go to DATPROF, DATPROF runtime. And what you see here is basically the 3 steps we need to execute to make sure the data is present in Tosca. The first one is subset. I will click on that. And with subset, you can say, okay, I want to have those items from the database. I want to have that in Tosca. And you can here just give some parameters. And for the demonstration, I will just tell DATPROF to get records with some ID. That's what you can see here. So we put much of IDs. You can also create all kind of queries. So then you can specifically ask data or get data out of production. So we go to monitor. And now we're going to create that subset. So now, as you can see, it is running. It's running a few seconds. So I'm very curious if those are seconds or minutes. And what it currently does is it looks at the customer database, but it looks also to all the relations to other tables. So it takes, it takes everything it needs, it requires. Yeah, currently it's finished. And if we go then to the test environment, you can see that this table is now being filled with data. Right now, there's a lot of information that's still there in the test database, a lot of production information, like salary, and those kind of things that must now be masked, of course. So then we can go to the second step. And we say, okay, we're going to mask it. And it's running again.
So in the end, what you do and what you now see is the DATPROF runtime engine. And what we do in DATPROF is you develop a template. So in the end, what you do when first of all you have DATPROF, it's not DATPROF runtime, it's the execution platform. And we have also a developer version, and the DATPROF subset and DATPROF pricing. You develop a template for a database. So you select on what columns you need masking rules to be deployed, or which data you need in the subset. So in this case, we showed you just some simple IDs, but we also can make it happen like I want all the customers out of the Netherlands, for example, or all the customers which has a last name that starts with a F or a H or whatever. And we have the runtime platform just to execute all the developed templates you made in DATPROF. Just to give you a quick view, this is what happened in the end.
Yep.
When you run a DATPROF pricing application.
So we're on the masking, and now, it's probably not visible for you guys, but now the data is being masked. So the data is being, some columns are being scrambled. So now there's no production data anymore in our test environment. And basically the final step will be to make that data available in your Tosca TDM solution. Before I will show you that, I will show you Tosca, and what we did in Tosca is basically we created a test sheet with a TDM test sheet. And we build it up just like the database we have in our test environment, production environment. And we're going to put the data from DATPROF for the subset data into Tosca with the following steps. Just to show you that it's really empty. I will open the object editor. And you can see it's completely empty. So we go back to runtime. And we start. And it's now started. Oh, sorry. And now you can see it's really happening. It's not a movie. So you can see basically that the information from DATPROF is now available in your Tosca. So you can use, now this data in your test scripts. So that's the only thing I want to show you is the connection between DATPROF and Tosca, just to have the masked data available for your test cases. And now you just can use it the way you're used to use it in your test scripts, and you can do everything with it. What we also added is within Tosca you can add extra columns. So for example, for the people who are working with TDM, every record has a column, an attribute with status, because you want to know if certain test data still can be used or not can be used. So this way you just can add an extra column, and in your test scripts you can set the states then. So that was basically it. It's really simple, but really effective, I think.